Welcome to 613, What They Didn't Teach You in School. I'm Alfonso Cuadra, and I am sitting here with Mary. We're going to talk about passion to business. In fact, passion to fashion, almost, right?
That's actually great.
But passion to business. How do you turn your passion and the things that you love to do, like knitting, well, maybe not knitting, but, anything that you're passionate about and turn it into a real, legitimate business that makes money and can help you in your career. So that's what I want to talk. Mary, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure.
I think this is going to be a great show for a lot of people because people, they're interested in all kinds of things, but they don't necessarily know how to turn their passions into a real legitimate business, and that's kind of what you did. So what's your story behind that?
Oh gosh, I didn't even know I had a passion. I think that's where, we go to school first, figure out what you want to do. Well, sometimes you could take it all the way to, the highest education university and still not know what your passion is. And that's what happened with me. I graduated university and got headhunted. And from the
got a job right away.
I got a job right away. I ended up in the corporate world. I climbed the ladder super fast, that living the dream, and so I thought. But then one day, someone just under the CEO called me into their office and asked me to order them coffee, pick up their dry cleaning, file their files. And I said, well, we have interns for this. We have co-op students. Why are you asking me to do that? And she said, well, aren't you the co-op student? And I said, oh my God, no, I'm not. And then she quickly went to HR, and I had to have the talk about how I was dressed at work. And that's where I started thinking, oh my God, their perception of me becomes my reality at work. And I cried myself to sleep a couple nights, but then I made a huge change, and I started to figure out that the way I'm outwardly dressing must represent what I want out of the workplace. And that's where
So just explain to me kind of how you were dressing.
So I was dressing like a university student. I went to work with my flip-flops on, with my t-shirt. Maybe short.
Not non-professional.
Not professional at all. And I was a go-getter. I was a hustler, and I was, making an impact in the workplace. But
so maybe you had great ideas.
I had great ideas. My work was amazing, but I wasn't being perceived that way. And that's where the light bulb went off and went, holy cow, perception is reality everywhere, especially in the workplace. So I started to educate myself on the fashion world, and I developed a niche for corporate fashion, and I've started training clients how to dress in the workplace ever since. And it's not dressing in the workplace to impress anyone or to change mentality about how not to judge a book by a cover. Human nature, especially in the workplace, is to judge a book by its cover. Why not use that as a tool? And that's how I teach people now. It's just another tool to get ahead in the workplace. And that's where I've discovered.
So when did you figure out that was your passion? Like, did you always like fashion? What were you doing at 16? What kind of magazines were you reading? Was that like the one thing? But maybe everybody said, you can't make money out of that.
It's interesting because at 16 I wasn't reading magazines. At 16 we didn't have a lot. So I got hand-me-downs, and I actually learned to sew, and I started making my clothes, and I started making my sister's clothes. So we were 5. So it's a lot of money for, two immigrant parents to put us through school and to, buy us the latest fashion trends. So I never had any of that. I admired it, but I never had it. As I grew up and started making my own money, I started to discover that, yes, I did like fashion, and yes, I did have a knack for it. And then I started to take professional classes in sewing and to learn about the professional fashion world.
So you really went deep. This was truly your passion. But at some point you might have said, I can't this is not a business. I got to get a real job.
Yeah, and I did, and I always have had what is a real job these days? I think we're defying limits nowadays. What makes a real job and what's a sustainable model to make money.
Well, you went into a career not really understanding if that's what you wanted to do.
Absolutely.
I feel a lot of people feel pressure that they need to know everything. By the time they're 30, they have to have everything figured out, and that wasn't the case for you.
Well, I think that barriers are being broken now, and I remember thinking, should I go against the grain in the workplace? Like, this is not a good idea to go against the grain. But then I started to discover that you have to make your own grain. Maybe not go against it, but start finding your own grain that, where you can make your rules as you go, and that's what I started doing.
So this started for you as a side hustle, essentially.
It was a side hustle that just kept blowing up and blowing up and blowing up. The more research I did, the more of a hole or a gap I would find in the industry, and then I would fill it. So it may not have necessarily been my first passion, but you started the segment off saying, how do you turn your passion into money? Sometimes it's not your true deep passion that will make the money for you. Sometimes you just have to keep those passions as hobbies.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can kind of take that passion and mold it into something else that will be a sustainable money maker.
So you had an interest in fabrics. You were sewing, but maybe making the clothes wasn't the avenue for you. So you went more on helping people how to choose clothing that can make them feel good, get them respect, and confidence. Always, if you're walking around confident, then it's going to affect everything around you.
That's exactly it. I found a niche in the market.
So what exactly do you do?
So I teach people how to dress their body and dress for their environment. Actually, the first thing I ask them when I do meet with them is, if your clothes would talk, if your clothes had a mouth and could say something, what would they say about you? And then most people look down and they go, oh my God, they would say that I'm a housewife who's drowning. Or they would say that I look like a painter, but really I solve $1 million problems every day. Well, you have to make your outfit match what you do or what you want to do. That you want to make it match what you want out of life. And then people will start perceiving you that way. And it's not about, like I said, it's not about changing people's judgment or human nature to judge others. It's about using the tool, using the clothes that we have to send a message to the world. And
So just give me a quick 1, 2, 3. How do you do it? You sit down, you ask them, what would they say? Then what do you do? Like, do you have your own clothing line, or do you bring them to stores? How do you help them design? I guess pretty much you design their wardrobe. Is that what you do?
I do. We call them capsule wardrobes, or I have inspiration wardrobes that I create for them. It depends if I'm working with a business or with an individual. If I'm working with a business, then they have their own set brand that they want their employees to represent. And so I work with the business to kind of figure out dress code and what they want out of what their employees wear. If it's an individual, one by one, then I do sit with them and I really analyze exactly what they want out of their wardrobe, what their lifestyle is, what their budget, and then fit it all into that. And then we shop. And I don't have my own line. I take them to various retailers. I'm not paid by the retailers, so my opinion is not biased. I make sure
You're more for the individual.
I'm in it for them and not for the retailer.
That's so interesting because something so small as to changing the way you dress has a direct impact on who and what you attract that day.
Absolutely, and it has a psychological impact. Like, the science is all there. Color, different cut, all of it has an impact on how you're being perceived and how you carry yourself and the confidence that you carry yourself with.
So now you have turned your side hustle into a full-on hustle.
It is a full-on hustle, yes.
And you went through all the ups and downs of having a business and learning business.
Yeah.
They didn't teach you business. You didn't go to school for business.
I actually did.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to know.
I put all of that aside.
Yeah.
Because the first thing they teach you is to have a business plan. And when you're turning your passion into a business, the last thing you can do, in my opinion, is have a plan.
Well, I don't know if you heard the story about the gentleman that came up with Cirque du Soleil. And he went to the bank and they said, "Where's your business plan?" And he pulled out a statue with a clown statue, and he put it on the desk. That's my business plan.
There you go. Honestly, it's and I sat with very bright minds and business coaches, and I said, how do I take this and make it into something? And every single one of them said, have a plan. So I had a plan, and that plan did not work out the way, no matter
You deviated from the plan.
I deviated so many times, because when you're talking about your passion, it's going to take you up so many different alleys. And I found that when I have this business created by passion, there's so many opportunities that you can't say no to. Even if your business plan says, don't say yes to that, I just couldn't say no.
So for someone out there right now, they have so many passions, because you can't just have a passion. Maybe my passion is to tie my shoes and play basketball. And, I have lots of passions. So what's step number one for someone out there watching this show? What's step number one?
So I say this to my son all the time because you said basketball. He loves basketball and he wants to make money off of it. And he says, well, I'm going to go to the basketball league. And I said, well, buddy, that's not the only way that you can monetize your passion. There's so many elements to basketball. There's making the basketballs. There's making the courts. There's being an architect for the basketball courts. There's so many different things. There's coaching. So out of your passion, you have to learn that all the different ways that you can actually make money off your passion. It doesn't necessarily have to be what everyone thinks playing basketball. There are all different facets. And then what I say is try it.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of everything and see what you're really good at. Because you may love playing basketball, doesn't mean you'll be $1 million basketball player. Maybe you're up for designing courts after all.
So what's some tools that you have used that someone out there could use into, if right now they're thinking they have a passion and I want to turn it into a business. What are some of the tools and strategies that you use that could help them?
So first thing I did was I started doing the groundwork. I started doing my market research, and some of that means just researching statistics and seeing how much you can actually make out of that business, and then how many people do we have doing that right now? Is the market saturated? That's number one. Number two is networking with the right people. And for every yes, I had 1 million no's. So I would ask, to be invited to events, or to go to this store opening so that I could get to know more about it, go to this fashion event, etc. And for 1 million no's, I got 1 yes. And at that one event, I would network the crap out of it. And by the end of it, I would have every business card and follow up with every lead, etc. Until I really figured out, that there was something in there for me. Like I could have a piece of that pie. And then I discovered the gaps.
What was that one time for you, that first customer, that first paying customer?
Yeah, and that's another thing, paying. I did a lot of freebies. And, we were talking about this earlier.
Yeah.
Should you do freebies? Yes, you should do freebies. And no, it doesn't cheapen your business because you don't even have a business.
You need experience.
You need experience. You need to discover if you're good at it. You need to discover if you like it. You may get into it, and as much as you love doing it as a hobby, you may decide that in the business world it's not for you. So do a lot of freebies. And then that one big client was head of a really big corporation, and I can't say what corporation it is, but
so
they landed that client, I was like, oh yeah.
So they paid you.
They paid me.
And you were like, this,
well.
out of all the times that you did it for free, finally you got a check.
It did pay off.
And so a lot of people might give up because they're working, they're out there trying to do that side hustle. Now, do you suggest, because it's true, if you take your passion and turn it into a business, and all of a sudden that business doesn't make money right away, everybody's got bills to pay, mouths to feed. So do you suggest they go the same route you did? Have a steady Eddie, and then also work on the side hustle?
I absolutely would suggest that. And when I first started, I was reading the blogs and I was reading the business magazines to see, what the best way to do it was. And that was everybody's advice, was don't quit your day job.
Yeah.
Start the side hustle. And like I said, start examining different elements of everything to see what you're good at and what you like on the side. Take a couple freebies, do a couple free jobs. You will have some sleepless nights. You will have to hustle for a really long time. I think I did it for about 2 years, being paid very minimally, and then
it just blew up.
It does. You do get that breakthrough client or that breakthrough moment. Don't give up. It does happen.
I love that.
Yeah. You may have to adjust the plan.
You're going to deviate. People get so stuck on that one plan. You gotta be flexible.
That's it, absolutely.
One last question for you, Mary. What didn't they teach you in school? I know it's a fully loaded question.
There were so many things that they didn't teach me in school. Stick to my values. That was
values number one.
Values number one. If you wake up 5 years from now and you don't recognize yourself, is any of it worth it? In my opinion, no. Math is great, but it doesn't open every door. I remember being in high school and my teacher had a map on the wall of all the doors that math could open, and it was hundreds. And then he had a poster on the wall of all the doors that arts could open, an arts degree or arts, whatever. Yeah. And there were 2 doors. And that, that really scared me, but it's not the case. You really have to do some soul searching after you've done school, or maybe school is not your thing, and really discover what your passion is, and that your passion might, like the way you see your passion, might not be the way to monetize it, but think outside the box. Look around the bubble and see there is a way to monetize your passion. It might not be what you think it is, but there is a way.
So be flexible.
Be flexible.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you so
You're
much.
awesome.
You're awesome.
You know what? There's so much to be learned here. Well, number one, values. Values, follow your passion, stick with it, and don't give up your day job. Don't quit your day
Not
job.
quite yet. You can eventually, just not off the bat.
This is 613. 613. What you didn't teach you in school. Like us, share us, love us, comment down below. What else can they do? You can answer their questions, right?
Absolutely.
If they had, so how can they contact you? We'll put all the information in the comments below. Guys, come back to another episode of What They Didn't Teach You in School.